Hey everybody, welcome back to Cartridge Brewing. This is Adam Makes Beer. My name's Adam. Today we are back in the beautiful Cartridge Brewing. We have the full squad back in the house. Boom, boom, look at them. Today we are going to be brewing beer with head brewer Josh Toft. Josh, what are we brewing today? Tonto, cold IPA. Cold IPA season, okay? Big brew day, laughing, high-fiving, hugging, maybe hugging. Josh is the hugger. Yeah, let's get this beer mashing in. All right, so what do we have going on, man?
All right, so we're gonna start mashing in here. Grain's already milled, or at least most of my grain is milled. I got a couple bags I can't fit in the hopper.
Okay.
So I'll mill those once I get started. I've got rice hulls up there because we got a lot of wheat, a lot of rice in this beer. The first time I brewed it, stuck that mash real good, real good. I want that to be, hopefully the only stuck mash I ever have.
For sure.
So rice hulls all the way. I think it's unnecessary at this point. I'm better than I was back then, but I'm not tempting fate.
Yeah. Sweet. And you have, we have the old over-under, mash louder, and then HLT. And we did spin that earlier in order to get that temperature homogeneous. And that's something that you might want to look out for. I remember when I first started brewing on this system, I was getting very different temperatures from top to bottom because as that settles overnight, that temp probe is a little bit lower. So it's a good idea to turn that HLT if you have a situation like that. All right, so what we got going on there, big dog? I see that you are both pumps controlled from right there for the brew house?
They are. Both of them are technically controlled. I got to work with my mash pump up there. Just because I got some wiring stuff going on. But yeah, so we're about to start mashing in. I'm going to drop 55 gallons of water first, get it over my mash screen there, and then we'll start dropping grain.
Yeah, man. Do the thing. How long's it been since you turned wort?
2 years almost. Well, it's the last time I worked at Urban Artifacts. Yeah. It's been a while.
For sure. You've been 2 years doing the grant writing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 years doing that? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 2 years. It's been awesome though. I love it.
That's
I
great.
like the job. It's really fun, and that's why I went to school for too, which is nice.
I'm proud of you. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
That's exciting.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I was
stressful.
just talking about brewing to somebody yesterday because we got some utopias for one of our events.
Oh, really?
Sam Adams. Yeah, and I was telling them about the cold IPA process and how to brew it. So my knowledge hasn't gone away.
That's right.
There you go.
I know how to do
It's
it.
still
I
in there.
haven't touched anything.
Sure.
I am timid today. I was driving up here what if I accidentally open up a tank all by myself?
You know how that usually happens. I don't know. I'm just opening
I know,
things.
this is a fun looking valve.
Just pushing buttons.
Yes, I'm scared that could happen.
That's all right. I haven't had.
My hands are in my pocket.
Maggie,
That's what we used to do to my son.
Maggie, if it makes you feel better, I feel nervous because I don't have people in the brewery anymore. I haven't had someone in the brewery in 7 months. It's just me. It's just me all the time. So I'm I do whatever I want,
Today, though, Josh, I want you to understand you're not getting extra help. You were just getting another.
Yeah, no, I don't want extra help. Yes, exactly. That's going to motivate. It's going to drive me deeper into myself.
I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, I'm not here to help.
I'm not here to help. I don't want to touch one of those things.
Wow.
These hose are too dirty.
One of those things, huh? All right, let's start dropping.
All right, Josh, so let's take a look at this. So you just zeroed out your flow meter right there. Boom. I'll put an arrow in maybe, or maybe I won't. So let's check this out. Boom, ski. We've got our flow meter that's going to be pumping up from the hot liquor tank, up and over to the old grist hydrator right there in the center of the screen. What you doing right now there, Bob?
Just getting my acids in. I think you did a podcast with John Palmer once, and he was saying just put your acids in right up front.
Sure.
They get homogenized better. I still throw my salts in throughout the process to make sure they get mixed, but it's one less thing I have to worry about while I'm mashing in, especially with a beer like this because I got to deal with these stupid rice holes.
Yeah.
And that's a pain in itself.
For sure. You're getting some acids in there. What are you using for acid? Are you a phosphoric or a lactic guy?
Yeah, phosphoric 75. I just had my water tested actually, so it's a little, I got to use less of it than I used to have to. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It made me feel better too because I was noticing my pHs were dropping a little bit more than I expected.
Yep.
And then I had it tested, went back, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the exact amount of drop that I was getting. So
sure.
Readjusted the water profile a little bit just to make sure I'm staying in line. Shooting for about 5.3. So shoveling in some rice holes here.
And so are you getting rice holes in there even prior to any grain going in?
I don't get any, no, I wait till I start getting grain in and then I'll just be shoveling rice holes pretty much this entire time.
Yep.
I'll take a break to mill the rest of those 2 grain bags that I couldn't fit before. Yeah, it's my least favorite process on this year.
I can mill those for you and you can just keep riding the big rig up here.
That'll work. I won't
Make
say
me
no
feel
to
like
that.
I'm occasionally doing some work.
I won't say no to that. Yeah, sometimes I look at this beer and I go, do I really do this myself? Because I'm gonna Coolpool this beer. I gotta do these rice holes for remill. I'm like, it seems like a lot. I'm used to doing this with 2 people, but I make more work for myself, but it's worth it. This beer is my baby. I'm always tweaking it, always trying to make it better.
And isn't it nice that Josh has a baby? A beer baby? He is adorable. He's our special man. I probably won't include that. The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to I'm very concerned that I'm going to say some things that are like infantilizing, and I don't want to.
No, it's fine. I think you should say all those things. Leave them all in.
You are a special man.
I'll lean into it, you know.
All right, we're going to get into some familiar space here, some close space. So mashing, we got the rake rolling. Right here you can see that grist hydrator, malt dropping in up from the grist case, right into the grist hydrator. And you can see, let me see if I can get my hand in this. Right there, our HLT water is being piped in. It is blending in the hydrator and then dropping right down here. You can keep doing your thing.
Yeah, I don't want to take a pause anyways. I'm just keeping an eye on it. Them angles, boy.
Cinematography, baby.
Work them angles.
All right. So we're running cold IPA today. We'll be getting into full recipe as we go a little bit further. I will throw up. He conveniently sent me a PDF.
I might tweak it a little bit for you.
What's that?
I might tweak it a little bit. I've made a couple of changes.
Okay.
I might, make it look a little cleaner.
Josh is hooking me up with a PDF of this. And what I'll do is I will throw it up on the screen for a few seconds, and you can pause the video and screenshot it if you want that. And also, I've had some people ask for this brew log before. Again, it's not perfect. I might try to figure out a way. Maybe I can link it on my Instagram.
I have a PDF of it.
What's that?
I have a PDF of it.
Of the blank one?
Yeah.
So I think I have it online as well.
Okay.
And I'll try to get the blank one up because some people have asked for that too. It's not perfect, but it's all right. You can use it if you want. So how much rice holes do you use in a beer like this? So just off the top. Oh, look at. Just off the top.
50 pounds.
Brew log, aforementioned brew log. And
yeah, for this beer, just one. I only use rice holes if I'm going 50% or more on wheat / flake product, which is, I'm right at 50% on this beer. It's
okay.
Half pills, and then, so 440 pounds of pills, 220 pounds of wheat, 220 pounds of flaked rice.
Okay.
You know, I could probably get away without them again, but it's just not worth it.
They are a pain to work with.
They are
historically.
Yep. Make a mess everywhere.
That they do. And so how long does mashing for a beer like this typically take?
Probably take me about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, depending on how good I am at it. Still one of those, especially on this with so many other things going on.
It's a trip being back, man.
This is a lot of fun. Back, yeah.
All right, Maggie, I'm going to give you my mic.
Thanks.
Because I don't want it to be awful when I do this. So just these right here, man. Great elevator, great mill, great mill. Great elevator.
Yeah, it sounds like
Is that quieter than it used to be?
Maybe a little bit.
Man, it's fancy. Lift with the knees.
Adam's been working on his squats specifically for this moment.
I have been playing basketball with Isaac and the 8th grade team. And so there's like 5, 7 guys on the team. So I practice with them to have enough bodies.
Yeah.
I'm in a body bag at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like it's
100%. That makes sense.
I'm in a body bag.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I do love it. But,
You're playing basketball with what, 10-year-olds?
13-year-old.
13-year-olds.
I don't know, I have to spin all around before I start talking. But we are getting that grain milled in. Josh is using, and when I was here as well, we did a lot of work with our friends from Malt Europe. In general, I've really enjoyed using their malt. We've run a lot of 2-row, a lot of their pills, good stuff. Price point is pretty nice as well. So they're a good option for you guys to check out if they're not already on your radar. Oh, I can probably turn those things off too, right?
Good.
Josh is cleaning up after me.
But I also realized that I just did my math wrong and I could have milled everything last night, but I left some work for you to do.
That you what?
I could have just milled everything last night. I did my math wrong in my head.
Josh?
I needed to prove that he could still like
Josh?
lift some weight or something.
I think Josh fundamentally understands our relationship. That, yeah, I do need things to feel like, oh, I'm doing things. I'm helpful. I'm worth it.
You have to earn, Adam, you have to earn my love.
I know, I always have.
I'm not one of them free love types.
I was like, now I can actually understand that I'm good at my job. I am worth something. Good.
Running back, Josh and the girl last night was...
was I wrong though? I showed up at 8:15.
8:18.
Why are you're keeping track like that? That's up.
I'm just trying to maintain the same atmosphere we always had.
I told you 8:15 and I showed up around.
No, you were pretty accurate. I'm impressed.
Yeah, you were right.
I was up in time. It's just I have stuff to do. And then I do that stuff and then I go, oh, gotta go. Look at the clock.
Come on. Where did time go? All right, so Josh, let's talk about that water profile that we built up in a beer like this. I know people can take different approaches with it. You know, we're leaning, sometimes people do balance, they'll lean more in the sulfate direction, they'll lean more in the chloride direction. What do you kind of have for your water build on this?
So this one, yeah, it does deviate maybe a little bit from cold IPA in the classic, it's more West Coasty. So I don't use any gypsum in this guy. It's all chloride. On my water profile calculator, I use Brewing water.
Yep.
I'm looking at about, if I'm not mistaken, 170 parts chloride at the moment. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to add salt in the kettle as well to bump that chloride up even more. Try not to push my calcium too high. So my calcium's just a touch over 100, like 101. I'm happy with it there. But I don't want that harshness. I'm not trying to accentuate bitterness in this beer. I like the softer, kind of fruitier, more tropical expression that I get out of this beer the way I do it.
Yeah.
And that's my target. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So yeah, you had mentioned that you had some stuck mashes with this. I'm
gonna hit this one. I'm gonna hit this thing fine, actually. Yeah, I just heard it pop.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So you had kind of had some.
I had a stuck mash on the first
issue with it. Yeah.
I had a stuck mash on the first one. I brewed it. It was about 60% huskless grain, so mix of wheat and rice. I mashed in at 1.5 quarts per pound, thinking I'm a hot shot brewer. I can do this. That's what you did back in the day for a similar cold IPA style. And I was like, I can do the same thing. I could not, at least not then. And it got stuck pretty good after about 2 barrels into the the kettle. And yeah, I just decided I'm never doing that again. So that's why rice hulls, I cut back, and I have cut back on the grain mostly for, not because of any mash issues, but I want this beer to 7.5%.
So you talk about the volume of grain in there.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I use one less bag of rice than I was before.
Okay.
Just to bring it down from 8% to 7.5% for our people here. 8% is just a hard sell.
Yeah.
7.5%, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So makes it easier on me. I also increased my mash.
Liquor grist?
My liquor grist ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm at 1.75.
Yeah.
Just to help it make it a little bit easier. Between that, a little bit less grain, rice hulls. I'm a better brewer than I was back then, at least.
A little bit more experience.
A little more experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spot problems ahead of time.
Yeah.
Goes a little smoother.
Yeah, and that's one of those things when you see that stuff popping up. Those are some of the things you can do. So obviously, Josh made the adjustment, dropped a little grain, introduced the rice hulls, thinned out that mash a little bit, and then there's probably some process things as well, right? Whether it would be recirculation rate, different things, but you find that those things over time. I know for me personally, stuck mashes there was nothing that made me feel less like a brewer than when I was sticking mashes, or less like an experienced brewer, right? But the reality is sometimes it just happens, and yeah, so kind of is what it is. Looks like we're winding down this mash right now, Josh.
Correct. All my water's in. I'm just going to spray down the sides of my mash tun and let it rest. Oh, watch out.
Don't trip me. Don't trip me on the star. Just rinsing that down so you don't have any grain stuck in there or anything like that you have to deal with later.
Good. Rag real quick.
Are you just giving me the cold shoulder on purpose, Josh?
What?
I was teasing. I asked if you're just rinsing that down.
Oh,
just to
I
make
thought
sure
you were
that
just
stuff...
saying that's what you do. Yes. Yes, I'm just trying to get all that grain down, make sure it's not sticking to the sides of my mash tun, causing problems later on or making it harder to clean.
Okay, so we're going to break down that grist hydrator, get that cleaned up, and we are rolling into the mash rest. Josh, how long is your mash rest on this?
I'll go 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes?
30 minutes on this one. Gives me time to sandy my tank up or get that started at least.
Nice. Clearly, it's a safety. It's a safety thing.
Yeah, please drink some, or else I'll drink that whole pot and then I'll regret it miserably.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some coffee too. All right, so we are getting to the end of that half-hour rest, and so how do things break down from here with this system?
So we're gonna start. I'm just gonna start cracking this valve open until I see some liquid come through. I'll wait until I see a bit build up in my grant, and then I'll open it up just a touch more. And then once I fill my grant up, I'm going to go up top and I'll start turning my mash pump, make sure I kind of know the number I'm looking for hertz-wise, and it just works. We'll see up there what that actually looks like flow rate-wise. Might have to adjust a little bit depending on the beer, but we'll get that set, and then we'll go for 25 minutes, and we'll start lautering.
Nice.
Do your
thing.
Do your thing.
So what I do like about this setup, I do like these fine touch adjustment valves. As opposed to a butterfly valve where you can feather it a little bit, but it's more open than closed than not. With I always forget the name of this kind of valve.
I can't think of it either.
I'm going to call it a dial valve. But anyways, it's a lot more fine point control, and so especially something like this, the beginning of your Vorlauf, you don't want to be putting a bunch of pressure on that grain bed and kind of compressing that down. So having that fine point control like that is very, very nice. Again, as we've talked about, you can see the grant over there. It looks like it's coming out of Josh's face right now. That secondary vessel that allows us to pump wort back up to the top of the mash bed. That's nice because if we pump too fast, it just goes dry, as opposed to pumping too fast and collapsing that mash bed. Okay, so let's check out what this Vorlauf looks like on the inside of the mash tun here. If you remember back to the 210 brew day that I did, if you haven't checked that one out, 210 Brewing in Arlington, Washington, cool spot. We were brewing on a new specific mechanical system there, and they had this arm that runs along the side. You can compare this is an older model, and you can see what the Vorlauf line looks like. It looks different, but it's doing a similar thing. All right, so we're diving into the mash tun here, and then we'll try to deal with the steam Boom, right there. We have that recirc line right there. It's running gently down the side where it's already looking a little clearer than it was. This recirc usually takes about 25 minutes in order to get this to the clarity that we want for this brew, for this grist, for this batch of beer. You can use any of them. Once we get done with that, we're gonna start lautering and knocking this wort over to the kettle. All right, so we just wrapped this Vorlauf and we are actually already lautering, and we're gonna get some video here in just a second. Hey Josh.
Yes.
How much liquid do you like to, how much wort do you like to lauter before you start to sparge?
Usually I'd say four to 5 barrels, but I kind of play it loose with each beer. I want to see what my grain bed looks like before I start sparging, in case I might need to make any small adjustments to get efficiency. So sure, depends on how thin that mash is.
Sounds good. Let's flip this camera around to get a picture of some of that sweet wort. Boom, baby. You can see that ring of wort, that beautiful golden stuff filling up. It's coming from right down here. You can't see that well just yet. And is there like a runoff speed that you're looking for when you're doing this stuff?
So I can't track my gallons per minute or anything like that. So I'm going off of 15-minute timer. Goal every 5 minutes. I'm getting a barrel.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be off on that for these first 15.
Sure.
I'd rather do that though and be slow up front and make sure I get myself set well, and then I can pick up some speed later on in the process. But that's the only way I can kind of judge speed.
Yeah, all manual. All right, and you can see right behind me we are hooked up to the racking arm. Josh has been running Sani on this fermenter. This is the fermenter that we're going to be knocking out into today. The majority of the cellar stuff, actually it's not even the majority, it's like, it's pretty much a split between 15 barrel unit tanks and 30 barrel tanks. You can see the tall skinnies going down the line here, and then you see some 15 barrel stuff. The tall skinnies were the original stuff that came with this system. They don't have dry hop ports, but then you can see the standard 15s that go the rest of the way down here. They all have dry hop ports. And we have one more lane to the cellar, right over here, a couple more 30s, and then we have two 15 barrel brights and a 30 barrel bright over there. All right, Josh, you're getting ready to do a little pH work here. I see you got some wort cooling down over here in the good ice, like Kroger sushi over here. I said that bit when I did something here like a long time ago, and I thought it was really funny, and so I'm just running it back. That's
I've never heard of
stick to what you know.
It is. Look, see, it's like
That's Kroger sushi.
It's
Kroger sushi. Let's talk pH and the steps in the process that you're generally taking it and stuff like that, what you're targeting.
I don't take a ton of them, but I will take my mash pH after about 5 minutes left in Vorlauf. I'll pull a sample. That's when I'll check my initial bricks on it. I'll pull a pH sample as well. Shooting for about 5.3 on this beer. Anywhere from 5.2 to 5.4 I'll be happy with, but 5.3 would be golden. It looks like we're right on there. 5.3, 5.31.
Love it.
It's fantastic.
Love it.
So wort's looking great. I'll take another reading once I'm fill the kettle up and I have it turning over. I'll grab a gravity sample as well there to make sure I'm on track, and I'll take another pH, and then I'll make some adjustments at that point if I need to. Probably drop the pH a little bit to make sure I get a nice clear wort.
This is an awesome pH meter. How often are you calibrating?
Probably not as often as I should be, but I try to calibrate it when I remember. So I calibrated it just the other day in preparation for today.
Nice.
So I would say once a month is, where I'm at. Sure. I would like to be doing it once a week, but
yeah. How often are you brewing?
Not that often right now. So maybe once a week at the moment.
Sure.
They'll start picking up as it warms up, though.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. Awesome. So Maggie, it's like our boy's all grown up.
I know. I was getting like an overwhelming sense of pride when he was talking. I don't even know what you're saying. I don't even know what you mean anymore. But I am like so proud.
Yeah, at this stage, for me, it's like Josh and I were together for 18 months, but I'm basically just going to take credit for everything that he accomplishes from here on out.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
me too.
Reasonable. You're gonna see me use all the things that you taught me how to do. We're gonna recirc that wort once we're full to get that Whirlpool down to 180.
Feed that monster.
That one, I will say, that one is interesting to do with one person.
Oh my gosh.
I've learned how to do it.
So
I will show you how to do it. But
so you're talking about like when we do like the Coolpool, bringing that down.
Now I have blasted myself with so many blazing hot hops and wort almost every time.
Oh, that's good. Sounds like.
I'm like, oh, that's a long enough tube. No, it's not. It is, in fact, not.
This is not good enough. Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's just part of the process.
Figuring it out. So we are going to be running a Coolpool on this.
A Coolpool.
Nice.
Yep. Not as low as again, reading Scott Janish, some of his stuff. I was going 170 in the past. And then he was like, yeah, like 167, you start to get negative effects. Like that's too cold. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go up back to 180. See if I can maximize my hop extract and flavor, aroma.
This is a good time of year to be doing it too, because at least the groundwater's cold.
Yeah, it's not. I know we're gonna pitch this beer at 60
Do you still have water in the CLT this time of year?
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Has that? Because I remember when I was here, we had some issues with that temp probe. Does it behave pretty well for you?
It behaves pretty well. I had a little bit of an issue with it a while back. It would just go haywire, and then I just filled with it. And now it seems accurate, so I don't touch it. As long as the temperature seems like it's what I want, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to trust the process.
For sure.
Trust the process.
Well, sweet. How much wort do we have over there right now?
What do we got? We are looking at. We're pretty slow. We're just a little over 2. I'm so hesitant on this beer, though. I inch it along.
And like you said, it is one of those situations where once you get the grain bed set, and it's running appropriately, and sometimes even that warmer sparge water can help that viscosity of the wort as well, right?
Yes. And if I really have to, and I get a weird caving, I'll just slowly turn my mash rakes while I'm sparging and just reset it.
Well, and it was such a big adjustment for me to go to Sonder because their system is supposed to be built for the rakes to be turning constantly. And so we would kind of do like those mini cuts here and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like where it's slowing down and like you kind of cut like a half turn so you're still getting everything.
Yeah.
But theirs goes all the time, and that is the way you're supposed to be able to do it. But we always would pull so much solids on here. You could see it right through here that it didn't feel comfortable doing it. And so doing it at Sonder was interesting because they were turning the whole time, which again is what you're supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, it's definitely been a useful strategy, and I've employed it a number of times just to make get everything I can out of it, or correct a mash bed that I don't like particularly much.
One of the things that I liked about their system was we have the sight glass. You have the sight glass here on this mash tun, but they had sensors for 2. And so you could see, so like on older school, so I don't know if it's older school, but there's 2 sight glasses on the mash tun. So one is just for the overall volume of the vessel, and then the other one starts below the false bottom.
Oh.
And so then when you're drawing liquid from underneath it, the pressure that's under there pulls down below. So you have the main volume, and then you have the level of liquid, and you can see how much that differential is. When you start getting too big, you can know that, oh, I'm probably going to start compacting that grain bed right now.
Yeah.
But they were digital, and they were sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Sure.
But yeah, it is a nice thing to have the 2 readings on that, whether it be visual or whatever. It looks like you probably have a couple barrels over right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple barrels over. Yeah, 2.5, about 2.5 right now. So we'll just. It's a slow part of the day.
For sure.
Nice stuff.
Let's toss Mike over to Mag.
I was actually just telling someone at my friend's kid's birthday party about cold IPA, and he was like, what? Why is it a cold IPA? What happens? Well, yeah, exactly. Aren't they supposed to be cold? And now that I'm here thinking about it, I completely butchered what a
As long as he thought you
I mean, they love it. The people love it, obviously. Yeah, but I completely messed up what I was saying.
So I mentioned like in one of the videos or whatever, you coming out of retirement. So
Yes.
you took a job at Urban Artifact, a big tart beer, fruited beer place that has some really interesting processes. And then you went into am I using is it the private sector?
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
Is what I would call it.
You entered the nonprofit
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
This is me talking like I'm an adult.
Yeah, I went into nonprofit because I did my master's degree for communication studies, and that's why I went and got my master's degree for. But yeah, I worked at Urban Artifact for a year and a half, I think, which it's right around the corner from my house. Yeah. So it's really close, and I got to learn some really cool new fruiting techniques that made brewing a lot of fun and way messier than I thought it could ever be.
Sure.
And that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, because they do a lot of real fruit processing and everything like that.
100% real fruit. And so we were brewing, we were brewing almost most of the time, almost 24/7, but we were brewing a lot. And every single beer had thousands of pounds of fruit that went into it. So we were pumping fruit in. Usually on Wednesdays would be our fruiting days. And the entire day, the majority of the day took up pumping fruit into the tanks and making sure that we got as much flavor as possible into those beers. Because we brew a blonde ale at first. And then the fruit takes up all of the flavor, and they're all sour beers too. Yeah. So we're throwing that aspect into it as well, and then a couple days later, we're throwing it into the centrifuge to get all of that fruit
to kind of pull all that pectin out.
Yeah, all of that out of there, and we were turning beer pretty fast. It's a huge system. I can't even remember how big the tanks were, but it was a cool experience.
Making a lot of beer. Yeah. I'm going to double check something on this, and then I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're definitely recording. That's good.
Can you see me, or am I just
no,
standing
you're great.
off the camera?
No, you're great. It's just me standing here.
Standing.
It's just me. Yeah, it's just me standing here.
A shot.
Yeah, it says just embodied voice.
Cool. Just want to make sure.
This is a time where we have a lot of people leaving the industry. So I don't know how connected you are in the online space, but obviously there's been brewery closures. There's really not, we were talking about earlier today, the number of new jobs that are being posted in the Cincinnati area is very, very low.
Yeah.
So you've moved into another field. What do you feel like some of the things that you took away from your time in the brewing industry, and how that informed or helped the new work that you're doing?
I think that going into the brewing industry was a great experience, and I think it taught me how to work harder than I thought I could work. And the physical work is, it's completely different than sitting at a laptop all day, but thinking critically about something that I didn't think I would need to think critically about was really exciting. It's surprising to see a lot of those jobs not be offered anymore. Some of the breweries that are closing down, it is sad. But I think long-term wise, my physical well-being was something that, I'm almost 30, and my physical well-being was already taking a drastic downturn. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think a lot of those I don't know. I now that I'm thinking about it.
No, for sure. So, so I will say one of the things that, and you mentioned it, being in a position where, we work together, I managed you. I do think one of the things that I noticed in your development was that It is a physically demanding job.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of being able to watch you achieve more things than you maybe thought you could.
Yeah.
When we started.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a completely different job than what I'm doing right now. So I feel like it is hard to compare, but there are a lot of like those practical work skills that I have been able to take over into my new job. And I think being in the brewing industry, which is quote unquote like less of a professional industry, going into a more professional like office setting.
Sure.
Honestly, I think it is a good thing that I have that like not standard professional experience.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, like, you know, a job is a job, but it depends on who you're working with and your ultimate goal too. And so that was something that I feel like it changed a lot in me when I was working here and working in the brewing industry, is just not having to take things too seriously, but also being able to get the job done at the same time. So that was some nice experience that I got.
So we just got this pump starting on Sparge, and we pulled how much over to that kettle before you started your Sparge?
I was at about 5.5, 6 before I started.
Nice. And you did have, this was a little bit of a thinner mash, so there was more mash water going in here. And so, because do you usually pull that much, or do you pull a little less?
No, I mean, lately I've been brewing a lot of lager, so I've been much thinner, like 2 quart per pound. So I will pull 5.5, 6 when I'm closing in on that. If I'm brewing it like 1.5 quarts, then I'll usually pull maybe closer to 4. I could definitely pull sooner, but like I said, I just like to be able to see what my mash bed looks like before I start clouding it up with Sparge water to make sure if I need to do any fine adjustments to get it a little more even, I have an opportunity to do that.
What's the temperature on the Sparge water?
This one, 170-ish.
Nice. Yeah.
So
yep.
I'll just crank. Usually I'll just, not very scientific about it, I'll just crank it up to the next like 5 or 10. I'll go at least 10 degrees above usually.
Sure.
Somewhere in that range.
Well, nice, man. I also see you've got the
I got the long time viewers know this guy.
Can you talk to us about that process a little bit?
So I want to acidify my Sparge water. I don't have a way to do it ahead of time, and I don't want to add all my acid in right up front and then just be watering it down, not getting a homogeneous acidification. Yep. So I just mix up my acid in here, top it up with 25 ounces of water, or top it up to 25 ounces, so I can do it in 5-ounce increments throughout the course of my Sparge, get it evenly circulated, and hopefully acidify it where I want. And then I'll still make adjustments as I need to. I'll take measurements in the kettle if it doesn't get me quite there, but that's the idea.
For sure. So this episode today is about Cartridge, is about Josh, but if you think that this process is weird, you can blame it on me. The main idea here is we found that when we were making lagers, when we first started making lager, really especially lager, when we started making Cartucho, which was our adjunct lager, the lighter beer that we were making, we were pulling a little bit of huskiness, tannin out of that. And we found that when we went out of our way to acidify that Sparge water, and again, we don't really have, with the way this system is rigged out, it's difficult to bulk adjust it. And so we kind of add acid to it as we're going through the Sparge. You know, you can like the process, not like the process. I do know though, like when I've had brewer friends come in and be able to look at things blind, they were able to notice a difference in those beers cleaning up from a astringency tannin standpoint, and I was able to pick that up myself. So it was something that we ran with here, and it was a big help for us. It might not be a good fit for your water. When I was over at Sonder, we didn't have to do a lot. We didn't have to do anything to the Sparge water, and we're actually pretty close in distance. But they have some very different water over there. So everybody's water profile is going to play in on that. So anyways, we have Sparge rolling. It looks like you do, it looks like you have the flow meter dialed in. How much Sparge water are we going to be hitting this thing with?
About 261 gallons.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful. We'll see how I do for conversions. We're talking gallons, not barrels right now, because that's the language of the flow meter that we're using. So sometimes people want to know how come we're using different measurement units. Generally, you're using whatever numbers the tools give you. So anyways, that's that. We're going to sparge. We're going to get our volume up in this thing, and we're going to keep doing beer stuff. All right, we are rolling through the lauter, and now we're going to start getting some simple sugar into the kettle. Was there flaked rice in this grist?
Flaked rice, yeah.
Flaked rice in the grist, and then we're going to hit it up with some other sugar solids. What are we putting in there right now?
Rice syrup solids, 150 pounds.
Yeah, baby. So we're going to load that kettle up. We'll get some hot side action. Or at least some adding sugar to the kettle. I used to want, let me turn so you can see Josh working and me saying something stupid. So what I used to do was I used to want to play the song Pour Some Sugar on Me as we added sugar to the kettle. I always thought that was funnier than other people did. That's what my mind always goes to. Let's get Josh actually doing some work. All right, so for somebody who hasn't worked with rice syrup solids before, does it look and behave feel just like dextrose, like table sugar?
Yeah, it's a little more powdery, I think. Than.
How likely is it to clump?
I don't notice much clumping. It might at first, but that's why I like to add it at this point as well. And then I'll let it. I'm whirlpooling this the whole time that I'm filling this kettle now, and that'll help break up any of those clumps that might form. I also just pour it real slow right into my whirlpool stream.
Yep.
And it seems to go pretty well.
Okay. So do your thing. You can see that we do have kind of a slight stir going on because he is running that Whirlpool pump a little bit, getting a little agitation in there. No crazy big ripping vortex in the center, but just keeping the liquid moving, and then adding these rice syrup solids in on this side.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually know any real difference between these and dextrose. I don't know if there's any flavor or anything contributions, but I just stick with them because I use flaked rice. I keep that rice motif throughout it. These cost a little bit more, but
yeah, and I was having a talk with a brewer friend of mine about this as well, and it's one of those things where it's so if we were to drop the rice out of this, replace it with Dex, you know what I mean? I would be really interested. I'm sure there's going to be some flavor differences. I don't think so much color, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's something that I'm not sure of. I would love to kind of do side by side with some of those classic light flavor contribution adjuncts and some sugar product as well, right? So being able to test, rice against corn, identical build, rice against sugar, dextrose. But yeah, the rice solids are more expensive.
They are more expensive than dextrose.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've run it with this before, and it does just kind of keep it all within that rice space. If anybody out there though really does have oh yeah, hey, we used to turn it all the time with rice or rice syrup solids or rice syrup or solids, and then we switch to Dex or back and forth. I'd be interested in hearing in the comments if anybody has takes on that. Okay, so we have those rice syrup solids in the kettle. We are kind of near the back portion of the lauter because we're going to be pulling 18 barrels today, Joshua.
What?
18 barrels today?
Yes.
Okay, so we're 14 and a half in, and I'm just going to flip you around and we're going to look at how beautiful this wort looks. So you can see right here, old Ulysses, nice, beautiful, and clear. And here you see a couple of flecks floating around. But really nice and clear here on the runoff. So how long is this one going to end up, is this lauter going to end up taking ultimately?
Probably about 15, 20 minutes longer than normal. So I think we're shooting close to hour 45.
Okay. For sure. Yeah, no, but the wort looks great. So yeah, it was a little bit slower transfer today, but the wort's really looking beautiful. We'll flip you around right over here. We are up to just about 15 barrels on this. So if I didn't mention it before, we do have the fermenter buttoned up. He spun that with PAA, diluted to the appropriate temperature. And yeah, what do you, I see you have a brink over here. Is that for us today?
Yes. So we're going to harvest yeast off of Cartucho.
Okay.
And we're pitching this with lager yeast.
Okay, nice. So we can go ahead and watch some yeast pitch action and all that good stuff. So, all right, onward and upward. I always look at the wrong thing. So onward and upward. All right, so we have Josh bringing the grain bin in now. It is basically just a big, this one takes everything. How many pounds of grain do we have in the mash tun?
880, 900, something like that.
We're going to get that mashed out. You can see that we are dropping cloudy wort and really kind of heavily grainy wort down the drain right now. We're getting the rest of that dilute wort out of the lauter tun. We have the kettle fully topped up. We are coming up to a boil on that. We are going to get this mash tun emptied. And then what else did I ask you about, Josh?
So yeah, we'll get the mash tun emptied out. We'll get this kettle boiling. I'll figure out how to Coolpool my kettle because I brew this beer every 3 months.
Sure.
And I forget in between there how I set this up because it's kind of an interesting setup for sure. There's not an easy way to do it, but it's worth doing. So
yep.
I got to figure that out, and we'll start getting some hops ready. And
sweet.
Yeah,
we have some yeast to grab.
We got to grab some yeast. Yes.
All right, we're going to harvest some yeast as well.
Important for beer.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. There's a light flashing over there.
Yes. Oh, you missed when I went and grabbed the bin. There was a hawk eating a pigeon. So now they're just hunting the pigeons in there.
It's wildlife.
It was great. It just flew out whole pigeon in its talons, just flying. I'm like, hell yeah, brother.
It's wildlife. Wildlife at Cartridge. So we're gonna knock that out and we're gonna keep rolling. Josh over here, spraying it out, big, big Josh, spraying it out, spraying the man, look at that, big, big Josh, spraying it out. Josh, I'm trying to remember, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Left-handed.
You're left-handed?
Yeah.
Super weird.
I'm a weirdo. That's what they all say.
So, you just pulled a wort sampler. Are we at, is the kettle rolling up there?
Yeah, kettle's rolling.
Nice.
I'm 15 minutes into boil.
Sweet. Sweet.
I just added a little bit of acid, trying to bring my pH closer to like 5.2.
Okay.
Before I start adding any hops in.
Nice.
So I threw 50 mils of acid. I'll go from there, see where that gets me, and then
for sure
adjust until I'm where I want to be.
Yep.
And then I'll start adding hops.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What was I going to talk to you? Oh, we were also talking, you did a kosher salt edition.
Kosher salt edition, yes.
Yep. And so what are you looking to do with the kosher salt edition?
So I want to add more chloride into this beer
than
I can do safely with calcium chloride.
And when you say safely,
I don't want to push my calcium levels too high.
Yep.
I don't want to get them, I'm at about 100. I really don't want to push them much above that. I certainly don't want to get them into the range of like 150, 200 if I can help it. So I just throw kosher salt in. That gets me the chloride, a negligible amount of sodium, and it'll take it from So with my calcium chloride addition, I'm looking at about 170 parts of chloride. I don't know if it's 100% accurate when I plug it into the calculator because it's adjusting for mash more than anything. But the amount of salt that I'm going to add in, which is 12 ounces, is going to push me, according to that, close to 300 parts.
Okay, so blasting
chloride. So really blasting it.
Yep.
It's going to make a nice soft. This is a pretty juicy cold IPA. And so I think it does help with that roundedness, fullness, and I am going to try to add just a touch of bitterness into this beer that I don't, a bittering addition that I don't typically do, just to push back on that, just a hair. Lay a little foundation, 5 IBU foundation. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you know, ultimately it's about, you know, and I think sometimes people can get caught up in different ways of saying, well, this is a cold IPA, this is an East Coast. At the end of the day, you're leveraging a whole range of things to create the finished beer that you want. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got to call it something.
For sure.
Sure. That's the idea behind it.
Nice. Nice. So we're on some pH checks. When you get the pH you want, we're going to get on our hop additions, and we're also going to be harvesting some yeast.
Yes.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yes.
All right, so on this yeast harvest, we're going ahead and got our brink emptied of Sani, and then we are hooking up our harvest line to that keg. Now, where did this harvest line come from?
Came off of the tank I'm going to go into with this beer, so it's been sanitized with PAA.
Nice.
2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing.
And we're utilizing a build like this, where we have T on top, gives us 2 access points at the top of the brink. And then you can see there is a block and bleed built off right here as well. And then we're making our connection point to the bottom of the vessel. And we're going to start this harvest here in a minute. Okay. So we're getting some gas on our tank. How much head pressure do you have on that tank right now, Josh?
About 5-6 psi. I've already popped off anything that's sitting in the bottom. Did that yesterday. So I know I shouldn't have much to blow through before I can get to good yeast.
Nice.
I don't think I'm going to need a lot of pressure, but I like to keep some positive pressure on it for sure. Don't want to pull it vacuum or do anything crazy.
And so he's popping this through this line right now, and you can see on this side right here that he's going to be dropping any residual sanitizer out and then be getting into some nice looking slurry here.
That looks real good to me. Close that up. Go grab my scale real quick.
Those look good. Now remember, in a build out like this, we're going to have our input of yeast coming in here, ultimately going into the brink here, and this will begin filling. We do want to do this slowly on this side to not be punching a hole in our yeast cake. And then remember, we will have to be blowing occasionally some head pressure off of this, so you don't have pressure building up, equalizing with your tank, and you're not going to be moving yeast anymore. I've seen different people do different things with this. I know some people will actually hook up a sample valve off of this and use that as like a fine point blow off that they kind of control there. Some people just burp this occasionally. There's multiple ways to do it. It really comes down to whatever you're most comfortable with. So Josh did just bring the scale over, and we are going to be harvesting by weight today.
I'm going to try to pick up about 54 pounds of it.
So how many pounds per barrel essentially are you per volume of wort that you're going to be putting in the tank?
Yeah, for this one, I'm usually going about 3.3. So my standard ale pitch on a repitch would be 2.2. Standard lager pitch would be 4.4. I don't know if it makes any sense, but for me, I just split it down the middle because I'm using lager yeast, but I'm going to run it at 60 degrees. I don't want to go crazy on this beer, so I go for 3.3.
Yeah, man, love it. So yeah, he's just kind of gently feathering this valve over here, and you can really be looking at either sight glass, either your sight glass right here or your sight glass over here, so you can kind of track what that slurry looks like as it's easing into the old brink.
And I ran some amateur labs on this yeast yesterday, so I know I'm around 94% viability on this stuff.
Nice.
Probably billion and a half cells per milliliter.
Love it. So as the harvest is going on, right back here, Josh and I are just right by each other. He was so close, I didn't see him. Maggie's laughing at me.
We're right by each other.
We were right by each other. And we're wearing the same shirts. It keeps making me laugh. But as Josh is harvesting, we can go up here and see that we have... I'm so bad at doing this. Why are you watching this channel? Okay, there's we have boil rolling over here. We have not gotten to the point to where we are doing. Oh wait, did we do the first hop edition's already
First
over
hop
there.
edition is not in there yet.
I pay attention well. First hop edition is not going yet. Are we waiting on that pH check? Okay.
Yep.
We're still tweaking pH here a little bit, and then we'll be getting all that stuff rolling. Maggie's having a little snack. I ate some of the sausage that I brought from home. Made some Italian sausage at home the other day. Had some of that, and then yeah, we're just doing the thing. Reunited,
As it should be.
and it feels all right. The song isn't "It Feels So Good," right?
Reunited, it feels so good.
If I get a copyright strike on this because of that, I'm gonna be furious.
Really?
No. So what do we got going into the kettle right here, brother?
Just a dose of Magnum for bittering, 5 IBUs, not much. Not really looking to make this a bitter beer. I just want to lay a foundation. And also knowing how high that chloride is, I don't want this beer to be super soft.
Yeah.
So just, again, a touch of bitterness to try to create some balance, some interesting, unique mouthfeel in it.
Sure.
That's the idea.
Sure. How long are we waiting until more hops are going in?
Whirlpool. So we got an hour now.
All right. Sweet. We'll get that boil rolling. How we doing with the harvest?
It's going well. Started to get a little bit liquidy, so I'm letting it settle a bit, and we'll keep going. We got about half what I need right now.
Okay.
Shouldn't be a problem grabbing the rest of it.
And then how do you do that? Do you tie that in line? Do you push it into the tank?
I will tie it in line, so I'll throw my runoff hose onto the top of my brink there.
Yep.
Just blast through
Nice.
with that.
Nice. We'll come back when we got some Whirlpool hops.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're cracking that Whirlpool arm over here, and then here's our master contraption. We can see we're getting a little bit of work back through there. So before we talk about what the master contraption is, can you tell me functionally what we're doing right here?
So right now I'm just clearing these lines of any air, anything else that might be in them, because this is going to function as my Whirlpool telephone. On any other beer, I would just throw one of these guys right between here, but I need to be able to dump off some hot hops, not right now, but before I knock out.
Sure.
So I need to have a way to do that before I push it through my heat X, or else I'm going to clog that thing up.
Sure.
With all these hops after doing the Coolpool.
Yeah.
So I got to build this whole contraption out. It's kind of a pain. It is what it is. It's what I got to do.
And it gives you some functionality because, again, like we're usually in a situation where we can just link this up with how we used to say the telephones. And then so now this is still just a loop. It's still just running around like this. But it throws a sight glass in the mix so we can see when we're done chasing water back through. And it also gives us a dump over here. So because there's that dump over here, after that Whirlpool is done settling, we can blow out any hops that are kind of in this line and anything that kind of settles over there. Because you don't have like a traditional hop dam inside that kettle.
Correct. Yep.
Indeed. So yeah, we actually have, they have a little standpipe in the kettle, okay? And it can be removed and whatever, but there's a little standpipe that helps act as your dam or whatnot. But just so we're not throwing a bunch of green matter through that heat exchanger, because we don't want to clog that, we have that little blow off built in right here, so we can kind of blow that through clear and then send it over to the heat exchanger. This rig is specifically built for his Coolpool process, and we'll be getting into that here in just a moment.
You might want to step back just a minute.
All right, Coolpool fever time, folks. You still have yeah, we both have green lights, don't we?
You want to go, actually, real quick, turn
Cool.
Well,
fever
once
time.
you're ready, we're going to turn that kettle pump down. Just turn it down to 3 for now, I want to blow stuff through here before I.
And then start and stop it.
Yep, I'll tell you when. Whenever you're ready. You good?
Oh yeah, you're good to go.
Go ahead and turn it on. Turn it on, and I'll tell you when to stop it.
So Mag's operating the pump.
Oh, open up. Sorry, open up. Turn it off. Open up my heat X valve on top. No, up right there. Yeah. I always forget that.
No, it's okay.
There we go.
Ready?
So that's gonna be pushing through all of the sanitizer.
And tap 3.
Perfect. Yeah, I just want to slowly push it through.
It does help having that second set of hands over there ready to turn the pump on and off for you. Maggie and All-Star as usual.
That's good. It always takes a bit. You can turn it up to like 4.
It's always interesting how much
How much water there is?
how
in the
much
liquid.
how much liquid there is in there.
I
right?
always think like, oh, did I leave my HLT on?
Yeah.
Like, am I pulling from the wrong spot? But there we go. Color's starting to change.
All right.
All right, go ahead and shut it off.
All right, so she's killing the pump, and then he's sealing it there.
You can leave that
Drop
open.
some wort through there. So this is ultimately what's going into the kettle. Okay.
Now
We have our cold water going on the heat exchanger. Oh, and you're doing a good job because there's not going to be any. I don't think there's going to be much flip to your game here,
Nope.
Josh.
Yeah, I try to plan
You
it out
got this
ahead of
laid
time.
out well,
It's all about envisioning where it's going to go,
right?
and then yeah, just watch it. Yeah, I was gonna say if you can get on that side, Mag, that's great. Yes.
That should be open, yeah. Okay, so this is an interesting little scenario here.
Yes. All right.
So you actually have, it actually functions as
And then
kind of
we'll turn it
like,
to 5, and go ahead and turn it on. So yeah, kettle's off. Oh, I was just saying, kettle's off now, so we're gonna start pushing this wort through my heat X, which has got CLT water and city water cooling it down. We can
And then
turn up to 6.
that wand is kind of like pointed off to the side, correct?
Yep. So for no reason other than this is how you used to do it, I point it the opposite direction that my normal Whirlpool is going to go.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And for funsies, and I'll just hold this here until I'm at about 180, maybe just a touch shy of touch below 180, because it's going to go back up once I actually Whirlpool,
Sure.
but not lower than about 178.
I don't know if I have your entire head in that picture or not, but we'll make it work. So yeah, as Josh mentioned, if you don't like the way this setup looks, it's my fault. This is what I did. What I do like about it is it does get me below the liquid level of the kettle. I don't like the idea of splashing and blowing a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. You know, it's already built out as a block and bleed, so you know it kind of has some additional functionality down the road. But anyways, yeah, he's running from the kettle through the heat exchanger and then returning that back up to the kettle right now, just below the surface. It's difficult to see video-wise, and maybe I can, through the magic of editing, I will overlay that visual here so you can actually see it. Okay, so here's this, boom, yeah. So we're actually below the liquid level on that, so you have that wand kind of built down here, and then we're pushing it that way. Counter, no, that's clockwise.
Clockwise. That Whirlpool counterclockwise.
How do you feel about the words anti-clockwise?
I am anti-clockwise.
You would.
I would be.
You would. All right, so that temp has dropped down almost all the way where we want it. Where are we at right now, Joshua?
178. Now I'm going to let it go to 178 because once I start whirlpooling for real, it'll come back up and get me right around that 180 mark, hopefully, before I drop my hops in.
Nice.
We can shut it. I'll just
Maggie, Trusty is always on her pump game, man. Just, I don't know. Maybe I'll cut that out.
I don't know how to interpret that one. That seems. Yeah, I'm on that pump game. I mean, it's better. Yeah, I don't know.
The more you guys laugh about this, the more likely it's staying in.
You're gonna make me die.
Okay, so we have that done. We can actually set that aside now, right? Because then we can isolate to just be going back through the Whirlpool.
Correct. So I'll just
Excellent.
pop this off. I don't need it anymore.
I'm still laughing that you guys made a big deal of that pump game thing.
You said it.
I'm pretty sure the record will show that it wasn't me.
All right, so now we'll go ahead and whirlpool the reel.
So now we're actually running Whirlpool with the cooler kettle, and we can hit it with those hopalones. I believe that's Spanish for hops.
Hopalones. Yes.
Yep, Josh is learning Spanish.
Yes.
He's an international man of, not mystery, but
intrigue.
International man of vigor.
Okay. All right. I won't say no to that.
Don't shake your head at me over here, okay? Josh, WPH and Whirlpool hopping. What are we throwing in there, man?
So we're gonna go 22 pounds of Citra.
Yep.
And 11 pounds of Simcoe.
Look at you. Love that. Have you done this combination before?
Not this particular combination. Usually it's 22 Citra and 11 Sabro.
Uh-huh.
I happen to only have 11 pounds of Sabro on hand, and I have 22 pounds of Simcoe, so I'm gonna use Simcoe here so that I have access to Sabro for my dry hop.
Yeah. So
I also think it's gonna be a better use of Sabro. Simcoe's got more survivables that I want, and is generally probably a better hot side hop than Sabro.
So Sabro is kind of a debated hop. What do you enjoy about it in this beer?
So I think it gives it this like coconut tropical thing.
Yeah.
That I just really enjoy. I think it pairs nicely with even the Simcoe. To me gets a little bit tropical, like pineapple-y almost.
Uh-huh.
And then the Citra, Citra. We all know what that's like. So that combination gets me a really nice citrus tropical vibe that's bright, pretty, it's really aromatic, really flavorful. I really like it. Honestly, I just happened across it accidentally.
Yeah.
I made this beer 2 years ago, and I looked at what hops I had on hand, and I went, quick Google search.
Sure.
That should pair well enough. It's worth a try. And it ended up being a really nice beer. So I've just continued to make it since then.
And sometimes that's the beauty of pub life too, like where you can, you have some flexibility and some freedom to figure some different things out, to try different things, and to see what ends up sticking ultimately in different iterations of that beer, right? So we have the cooler Whirlpool going. We have our hops in. How long are you spinning for? How long are we resting for?
5 minute spin, 20-minute rest.
Excellent. And then we'll be into knockout.
Into knockout.
Awesome. Cool. We'll be back. I'm rolling. All right, so let's check out our setup here. We're going from our yeast brink, from fermenter to our yeast brink right here. Boom, there's yeast brink. Yeast is gonna be blown out into fermenter over here. We have our sassy little off-gas bucket, which is all we will need for this lager fermentation. And then here, we're gonna be knocking out our wort directly into the top of the brink and then push through. So do your thing, Josh. I see some water over there, so I know we have our heat exchanger cooling.
Yes, sir. Just got another minute.
Film's not cheap, Josh.
I know. All right, I put all my stock in Kodak, so I'm good to go. I'm set. I got Beanie Babies and Kodak. All right, that's still a thing.
Listen, he was fine with me coming back here and doing this. Okay, just so you know.
I did agree to it. He had a gun to my head while I did it, but that's what's new.
Let's take a look at this rig right now. So functionally, this is what's going to allow us to make sure that we're not blowing a bunch of hops through, right? So
correct.
How does that happen?
So this is my kettle pump outlet. So I'm gonna pump off the bottom of my kettle.
Yep.
Through here. Hard to track a little bit, but up through this hose. Right now, my heat X valve is closed, so I can't push anything there. So this is gonna get stopped off the wort here, and instead I'm gonna push it out here, down this drain until I see this sight glass run, relatively clear. There's still enough hops in there. It's gonna be green.
But
I just want to get the bulk of it, and then once I see that, I'll just swap it, close this up, open my heat X, and everything else after that is already open and free to go. That's my timer. And I'll start this lower than I will once I actually start running, because I just don't want to shoot hops everywhere. So that's open. Kettle valve is open. Grab a flashlight.
It's got that pump rolling.
Pretty thick right now. It's not horrible though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You can see the more and more lights passing through it,
Yeah.
so you know you're getting past some of your hop or brake
Pretty
material.
happy. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna I'll open this first, relieve some pressure, and then do that.
Nice. So he just closed the dump valve and then opened this top valve on the heat exchanger, which is going to allow the wort to then run through the heat exchanger.
And then I just want to make sure I see this thing start popping off here soon. There we go.
And then if you focus on this, we're going to see this starts to get rinsed through. You can see that wort pushing through there. And then what temp are you knocking this out at, man?
We're gonna shoot for about 60 degrees, 58, 60 degrees.
Yep.
And then I'll set it to 60, let it ferment out through there. Do a little diacetyl rest once we're at the tail end of fermentation. And yeah, drop it back down for a dry hop after that.
Nice. What strain is this?
This is OYL 114, so Bayern lager.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. The workhorse for really all of my lagers here in house, and obviously this beer as well.
My pod with Richard Priest, he was saying that's, I believe that's the Augustiner. No, it's not Augustiner. Never mind. I'm talking out of my rear. Blowing that thing off there. Love it. Blowing in through here. So Josh is going to focus at this point on just kind of maintaining the temperature of this knockout. He's
Watch yourself.
a lesser athlete would have fallen down. Right now he's hooking up O2 to the knockout right here, but he's going to be maintaining the temperature, the knockout temperature on this. You can either be adjusting things on the water flow side or on the pump speed side. We'll be doing that. We have O2 going on there. And yeah, before you know it, we're going to be cleaning up and doing some other things. So stick with me. Stick with me. I see you got the old Brewer's Clarex. Is that going into everything, Josh?
It's going to everything that's clear. So
Everything
I know
that's-
there's some use. I know people are using it for hazier stuff. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But anything that's supposed to be clear in this brewery is getting Brewer's Clarex.
Yeah.
There's just it's useful for me on the clarity side, and then obviously that gluten reduction is nice. It's not something that we advertise or anything, but I just feel better knowing that that's the case.
Yeah, it's an easy thing. It's an easy thing to leverage. It's an easy thing to leverage.
Yeah, for the price per unit, it just doesn't make sense to not utilize it.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll throw some gloves on.
Are you surprised how bad of a job he's doing today?
What?
100%. Yeah.
What?
Nothing. All right, so what's next, bud?
I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
Are you going to add that right now?
I'm gonna add it right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet. And then you also have your zinc solution there as well?
Zinc solution.
Love that. Do you need another set of hands or are you good?
I think I'm okay. I've gotten used to doing this solo.
Yeah. Following Josh to the FV. Josh is spraying it like he knows what he's doing. I have my impromptu song performance skills
I'm this one.
gotten better. I'm essentially freestyling. You know what I mean?
I also wanted to mention that I feel like Josh, out of the three of us, is like, I don't want this to be like about Adam and I, but Josh is probably the hardest worker out of the three of us when it comes to us being in a group. And so I would say I'm not surprised that Josh can do all of this by himself.
Do you feel like, I feel like
He's
so,
probably glad.
he's like, it's just so much easier to do it myself.
Yeah.
Can we? Hey now, Josh, you do have that Big Daddy 6-inch butterfly up there. I love that, huh?
Oh yeah, makes dry hopping a dream.
It makes dry hopping a dream. I like it. I need you. Listen. Sometimes, I think to myself, hey, it would be nice if people would sponsor a guy that makes educational beer content and like tons of it. And then Josh rolls in just like with this guy's a marketing machine, basically. You know what I mean?
I like it. Pull a sample here and see where we're looking on our gravity.
Look at Josh, all grown up. So proud of him. All right, so you'll be taking sample?
Yep.
What are you going to be testing on it?
I'll check the pH on it and I'll just take gravity on it.
Yep.
Smells like wort.
Yeah, it does. He's doing his thing. I'm B-rolling that mug and he doesn't even know.
Well, I guess, but I got my pH right, so.
Did it dial in?
Yeah.
Nice. Boom, baby. Post boil.
Beautiful. We're right on. 1062,
Nice.
5.2, final pH. Well, post-boil pH at least. I'll take it.
Love it. Love it, love it. Did you say this job would be really hard to come in and do every day?
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap it for our brew day today. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to all the Cartridge people. Obviously, Josh, head brewer here at Cartridge, Amanda, the GM, Gary running the kitchen. It's been so great to come back and see all those people. And of course, coming out of retirement, Miss Maggie doing her thing. It's been amazing to be back here in this space. Sometimes for me, coming back to things is weird, but this was wonderfully nostalgic. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, love, and share all these things that I put out that you appreciate. And if you're getting any value out of my channel, please consider a channel membership. Talk to you later. Bye.